Today, I want to talk about not knowing what it means to do something for yourself because you are so conditioned to doing things for others, in the sense of doing things to receive the approval, love, or admiration of others. Because I feel like it's a thing that a lot of us probably do, and you can probably go through life and maybe even be rewarded for doing this. But I do believe that it's possibly not the healthiest or the most authentic way to go through life. And I think there's positives to finding a way to truly do things simply out of a desire to do them and an interest in them and a feeling of pride and accomplishment after you've done them. But I still don't really know what that means, to do something for yourself, because I feel like I've always done things to a degree for others. I mean, I've also always kind of done my own thing, and I definitely haven't gone down a traditional life route, I would say. But I do find it so much easier to motivate myself to do things if it means winning the respect of someone else, or having someone like me, or having someone want to be with me. And I doesn't feel healthy. I don't know if healthy is the right word, because healthy is obviously subjective. And how do I know what's healthy and what's not healthy? But it just feels like I have this complete ignorance in terms of what it feels like to do something for myself, but I'm so comfortable with doing things for a kind of external reward or for extrinsic motivation. And I'm wondering if there's a way that I can flip that. If I can switch from being extrinsically motivated by others and by society to being intrinsically motivated, pursuing things solely for the desire to pursue them. And things can be it can be a mix. It's not black and white. It's not necessarily like this or that. You can do things internally, and you can also enjoy the external rewards of, compliments or affection or inclusivity. But ultimately, I think at your root, you have to always be doing things because you enjoy doing them and because they bring you joy. And I think if you pursue things for others or for a motive other than the direct joy of doing that thing, I think you're going to run into problems. I think you're going to run into burnout. I think you're going to run into feeling lost and having a kind of crisis, a lack of motivation, a lack of inspiration. And so I think in order to avoid those things, I think it's so important that you have to make sure that everything you're doing is always tied to that direct connection of enjoying doing it. And I want to get there, but I'm not quite sure what I enjoy doing directly. The last video I talked about feeling lost, and maybe this is the reason I feel lost, is because I'm now discovering that I do a lot of what I do from a kind of societal pressure to succeed and to make something of myself. I feel like that's such a heavy burden for young people, to make something of yourself. You don't want to not be a loser. And it's so frustrating because that shouldn't be how you live your life. You shouldn't live your life to avoid being called a loser. But I think maybe part of me does do that. Part of me works hard so I don't look like a bum, because our society is so critical of people who aren't successful or wealthy or incredibly educated. But I don't want to live my life like that. I don't want to live my life avoiding societal criticism, and that's why I do the things I do. I want to live my life because the things I'm pursuing I am in love with, and I feel a deep, intimate connection with them, and I enjoy doing them. And that has to be it. If it's anything else, if you're doing it for the money or the status or the approval, it's gonna run dry, and you're gonna be left unhappy eventually, I think. So I want to work on that this week and for the future, because it's probably going to take a while. And maybe that's something that you struggle with too. Figuring out what it is that you love to do because you just get a happy feeling inside when you do it, and not so that others will accept you or love you or be kind to you or admire you because of that, because of doing the things, because of doing certain behaviors or jobs. And that takes kind of a moment of stepping back and reflecting and listening to what it is that your psyche is actually telling you. And so in a way, I think that this period of uncertainty or doubt that I'm feeling is ultimately positive, and there is kind of a reason for it. And that I kind of mentioned in the last video, that I think right now the universe is telling me to recalibrate, basically, to look at why I do the things I do, and to transition from being extrinsically motivated and socially motivated to being intrinsically motivated. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do things drastically different. It's just going to mean that my intentions behind them are different. But I do believe that the same thing but different intentions can yield two very different results. And so with streaming and with this channel, I need to recalibrate and make sure that I'm doing it out of an internal, intimate, personal desire to do it, and not just to make something of myself or to not be a loser, which is so harsh. It's like, but I feel like society does that. It's so quick to label winner and loser, successful and unsuccessful person. When oftentimes the people who are able to achieve success have so much support, and people who toil and suffer and don't succeed as much often have so much going against them that it makes it near impossible for them to escape. We really are so at the mercy of our environment, especially when we're young and developing. And even when we leave that environment, it can still have such a drastic effect on us. And I think that's so important to take into account when noticing people and not making judgments about people. They have a history, an environmental history that impacts who they are, and they might not necessarily be choosing to do the things they're doing. They may not even necessarily want to do the things they do or to commit the behaviors that they commit. It's simply a result of their programming. And that's something I also want to maybe talk about in another video, but because it's like non-judgment, because I have a very critical mind, I believe, because my parents were both highly critical, and so that makes me highly critical of myself, but also I see the world through that lens, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see through that film anymore. So I also want to work on that too. But that's for another video. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's try. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult. And it is very ambiguous and ultimately individual and personal as to how we will each find what it is that we do for ourselves, or our connection with the universe, and how we can live for ourselves and not live for others. But ultimately, I believe it's a journey worth taking, and it's a question worth contemplating. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you are good. And I really appreciate everybody and all the comments you leave. It's really such a amazing thing to see. And I have a Discord if you want to join the Discord, and I also stream on Twitch if you want to catch me live. All right. I will see you later.